So far on this channel, I covered more or less every single one of the competitive Druid builds in different variations. However, there is one build which I never covered. There's a reason for that, and this build is StormClaw. Currently, you're seeing footage of me using StormClaw, even though it's far from being complete in terms of the build and the item stuff like this, but it's kind of working at this point. And if you by magic have missed this particular build, there we go, you can see it now in action. This build utilizes the Crown Staff. Without it, it's a unique item. Without it, this build cannot work. So you need to have one unique item in order for it to work. Also, if you have the Tempest Roar, the build is getting better. I know many people are struggling with finding Tempest Roar. You can actually watch the video to the end to see what's going to happen after I finish this dungeon. Surprise. But anyways, today we're talking about StormClaw. And I'm going to be honest, I absolutely hate this build. First thing first. I have to admit it's a viable build. It is a good build, especially if you want to push Nightmare Dungeons, the correct Nightmare Dungeons, because in my opinion this build is horrible. It's one of the worst actually against a lot of range units. You're going to get destroyed, one-shotted, and don't attempt a lot of Nightmare Dungeons that have a lot of, let's call it that way, ranged units, because this build is not good against them. However, despite of that, StormClaw is incredibly tanky build. If you're trying to fight close units, it doesn't matter how many they are, actually the more the better, you won't have any issue surviving. In fact, once again, it's one of the tankiest builds I've ever tested. I have to give it to the build fully. One of the tankiest builds ever. On top of everything, it's not really that difficult to assemble. The build basically relies on your basic attacks. It doesn't require any spirit whatsoever. I just need spirit now so I can use Shred to jump from enemy A to enemy B. But we're going to get to that later. So the positives, extremely tanky. It doesn't require any spirit whatsoever. You can clear specific dungeons. If you want, you can even go ahead and further go all the way to level 100. It's possible. So definitely you can do that. And it is easy to assemble. One unique is all you need. Tempest Roar will be good, but if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. However, there are a few negatives about the build. And the negatives revolve around the fact that you have limited mobility. There is no gap closer. This is the main reason why I have Shred, because without Shred, the build feels bad. Especially if you want to do general things. For instance, if I want to farm the Helltide, I actually farmed 2 Helltides using StormClaw, and I hated my life doing it. It was so freaking bad. Especially considering the fact that I am Shred main. I love builds with Shred. I experimented with Shred a lot, and getting from Shred to this build was a really bad experience. In fact, I tried this build 2 other times in the past, but I didn't make video because I just didn't like it. I didn't like this build, but I said to myself, now it is about time to make a video just before season 1 starts. If certain people are unaware that this build exists, I mean, after all, it's a viable build. I'm not going to deny it. It's a viable build, but I just hate it for the fact that it lacks mobility and it's simply annoying to play. That's the best way I can describe it. It's annoying to play. However, if this thing fits your playstyle, you like going into melee range and start using your basic attacks, killing everybody, proccing a lot of lightnings in the process, then definitely you're going to have a lot of fun with this build and you can adapt it. And another thing, since I'm not an expert at this build, not at all, there is one guy who is doing more or less all content on StormClaw. His name, I believe, is Screamheart. I'm going to link his YouTube channel in the description. So if you want to find how to build this build in variety of different ways, in multiple different ways, using, the Ultimate Grizzly Rage or without the Ultimate Grizzly Rage, with the Crown Staff, without the Crown Staff, every single variation, he has the answer. So go and check his channel. He has everything you need to know about StormClaw. If I have to close the video, once again, this is a viable build. However, it is not really the greatest one for doing casual content, which in my opinion is a huge drawback, because if you want to push Nightmare Dungeons, you do Nightmare Dungeon 100 once and then you're done. You're going back to farming, let's say 40s, 50s, 60s, stuff like this. Nobody farms level 100 all the time. If you want to kill Uber Lilith, you kill her once and then you're done, right? Even though I've never seen anybody beating Uber Lilith with this build. However, I've seen it being kind of good in PvP. So if PvP is your thing, probably this is a good build for you. So you can push Nightmare Dungeons and at the same time you can do PvP. However, again, if you want to do Helltides fast, if you want to do regular dungeons, let's say 40, 50 levels fast, I am not convinced that this is the best choice. And quite frankly, I was having horrible time using this build to level up from level 91 to all the way to level 94. it didn't really feel good. It just didn't. But anyways, with slight investments, I managed to beat Nightmare Dungeon 72 without having a lot of issues. So I'm currently almost convinced that I'll be able to do 80. And if I want to go further than 80, probably I have to invest in better gear, especially when it comes to damage reduction. But once again, positives, extremely tanky. It doesn't require any spirit whatsoever. So if you find this thing early game, you can destroy everything. It's pretty fun. Drawbacks: lack of mobility, no gap closer, because certain players prefer to use trample instead of shred, which is horrible, because if you use trample, then you have gap closer once every 12 seconds on average. 12 seconds you have gap closer, and if this thing is on cooldown, you cannot do anything. You literally have to casually walk or use evade to get to the range units. And if you cannot do that fast enough, they're going to destroy you in difficult content. In regular content, you can just shred and destroy the dungeon much faster. You don't have to stop and start throwing punches or claws, whatever way you want to call it. So at the end of the day, yes, this is a viable build. I don't want to trash on it. I just wanted to give you my perspective and why I don't like it and why I decided to do a video on it right now, just before start of Season 1. Probably Season 1 this build is going to become even better, I don't know. But definitely what I know is that this is not my build. If you want to find out more about it, use Scream Hearts channel. I'm going to link it down below in the description. See you next time, guys. Take care.
Perfect.